Hey guys, welcome to Finished Work Eschatology, vlog number 34. This one is Heavens and Earth Shall Pass Away. As you can see, I'm in a little different location again. It's back patio, changed it up a bit. And I'm using a little bit different technology today, using our camera because I've been shooting a promo for an upcoming conference in Northern California. So thought I would try this with the camera today instead of I usually use my phone for our vlogs. But I'm in Matthew chapter 24, of course. That's where we have focused ourselves in this, the majority of this study. Today I'm going to do a lot of Old Testament qualification as we tried to explain the 35th verse. Matthew 24:35, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. Remember, the 34th verse is that ever crucial, assuredly I say to you, this generation shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled, or till all these things take place. So, when we talk about the fact of heaven and earth passing away, Jesus says they'll pass away, but my words won't. Generally, this is interpreted to be an apocalyptic end of the age event, end of the world event, in which God destroys the heavens and the earth. And while we will have time to do some more work on maybe some peripheral scriptures in regards to this, I really want to focus on that phrase heaven and earth passing away and what that meant to the New Testament world and what that meant particularly through the figurative language of the Old Testament. To do this, I want to go back to the Sermon on the Mount from Matthew chapter 5, where Jesus makes the statement in verse 17 and 18. Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For assuredly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. I want you to notice as you break down verse 18 that two things must happen. Number one, heaven and earth must pass away. And number two, all must be fulfilled. And once those two things happen, then the jots and tittles, the markings of the law, would then pass away. Well, first of all, we know that Jesus fulfilled the law. He was the fulfillment of the law for our righteousness. He did what we could not do. We cannot live through performance to achieve the righteousness of God. Jesus did it on our behalf. He fulfilled all the demands of the law. Paul would say in Galatians that the law was our schoolmaster till Christ, which means that Christ is our fulfillment. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 13 tells us that which, I'm going to read it. I like to quote it, but I always miss a word or two here or there, and I want to read it. I want to quote it right. Hebrews 8:13. In that he says a new covenant, he has made the first obsolete. Now what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away. So according to Hebrews 8, the old covenant was growing old and was ready to vanish away. So then people are left with, well, heaven and earth hasn't passed away. Until heaven and earth passes away, then these things are still applicable. So that leads us into needing to explain what would a Jew have thought if you were to say the heavens and the earth. And I want to use the Old Testament to do that because that's the book that the Jew would have been using and that he would have been familiar with. Particularly, I want to go to the Pentateuch, Deuteronomy chapter 32. This is the famous Song of Moses. This song will be repeated, and I'll mention it again in a moment, in the book of Revelation. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 1. Listen to the first phrase of the Song of Moses. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. And now realize this is Moses singing to Israel. And he says, give ear, heavens, and I'll speak. Hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. And directs the entire song at Israel. So Moses' interpretation of heavens and earth was not just to scream out into the heavens, and he surely didn't think the whole earth could hear his song. It was to deal with the heavens and earth standing right in front of him. Verse 22, now God is speaking in the song. The New King James brings out the pronoun capitalization on like the word my. It capitalizes the M. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn to the lowest hell. It shall consume the earth with her increase, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. This is a judgment statement by God, and did you notice? He'll consume the earth. What would that have meant? Well, Deuteronomy 28, just a few chapters before the song begins. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49, Moses says this to the people, the Lord will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you will not understand. And then he goes on to describe cannibalism among Israel, an event that would happen at the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. That nation that comes as the eagle flies, whose language they did not understand, of course, would be the Roman Empire. Now, Israel has in mind judgment, pending judgment. Moses calls them heaven and earth. When God speaks to them in the Song of Moses, he says he's going to consume the earth with his fire. So we have in the Pentateuch references to the people of Israel as heaven and earth. By the way, in Revelation 15, after the defeat of the beast, or after victory over the beast, after the beast's role is finished, Israel again sings the Song of Moses, and they add to it the Song of the Lamb, which we don't know what that sounds like, but it must bring Jesus into full scope. And I think that that is what we are singing now on the other side of that age, is the Song of the Lamb. Israel chapter 51, I want to use some Old Testament, and I will admit, I will use it to a fault. I will use it a bit overwhelmingly in the next few minutes, because I want to show you that it may not be familiar to you, and it may not be familiar to me, and to the modern Christian and the way we study the Bible, but to the Jews who were listening to the statements of Jesus in Matthew 24, it was very, very familiar. Isaiah chapter 51, listen to verse 13. And you forget the Lord your Maker, who stretched out the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth. You have feared continually every day because of the fury of the oppressor when he has prepared to destroy. Where is the fury of the oppressor? Notice that the Lord is described here as stretching out the heavens and laying the foundations of the earth. Now, when you read that, you could say, well, it's just God referring to his creative powers several thousand years before. Okay, well, we skip on down in the same passage to verse 16. And I have put my words in your mouth. I have covered you with the shadow of my hand, that I may plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth, and say to Zion, you are my people. So in this passage, it's the same God who 3 verses earlier is stretching the heavens and laying the earth, who now aims it to Israel and says, I covered you with the shadow of my hand so that I could plant the heavens and lay the foundations of the earth and call you my people. So it doesn't make any sense if he's referring to the original creation as the spreading of the heavens and the laying of the earth, and then turns around and says, you know what, I'm doing in you laying heavens and laying earth so I can call you my people. That's not the same act. It's not the same act of creation as is in Genesis 1 as we have in Isaiah 51. So in Isaiah 51, the spreading of the heavens and the laying of the earth is referred to as my people. Not my planet, but my people. And he even says, to Zion, you are my people. We know that that is Jerusalem. And so who are we dealing with? We're dealing with the Jewish people, which is the scope and the intent and the aim of the Old Testament, is dealing with the Jewish people and how they should be anticipating a Messiah and what he will look like when he gets here. And then, of course, Jesus becomes the central figure of the story. Let's go to more in Isaiah. Isaiah 24. I hope you're enjoying the journey, and if you're not able to follow along, this is worth going back and finding these scriptures later. I would highly encourage you to do that. Find them, mark them down, spend some time dwelling on them, get your take on them, and see as the Spirit speaks in you. Listen to an impending judgment passage, Isaiah 24:1. We'll use a few from Isaiah 24. This is verse 1. Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface, and scatters abroad its inhabitants. There's the Lord wasting the earth. Same chapter, Isaiah 24, verse 19. The earth is violently broken. The earth is split open. The earth is shaken exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall totter like a hut. Its transgression shall be heavy upon it, and it will fall, and not rise again. Now, are we talking about a literal planet, or are we talking about a people who are considered the heavens and the earth? I believe it's very clear. The book of Isaiah is a book written to Israel about pending judgments. And so when God describes a pending judgment on Israel, He says the earth is violently broken, the earth is split open, the earth is shaken exceedingly, the earth will reel to and fro like a drunk man, totter like a hut, its transgression is heavy upon it. Listen to this, it will fall and not rise again. Is he talking about planet Earth, or is he talking about the earth, Israel? Isaiah chapter 34, we continue the theme. Isaiah chapter 34, verse number 4. This one is particularly interesting. This is a judgment. Why not? Isaiah is a book of judgments. This is verses 4 and 5. Isaiah 34, verses 4 and 5. All the host of heaven shall be dissolved. All the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll. All their host shall fall down, as the leaf falls from the vine, and as fruit falling from a fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Indeed, it shall come down on Edom, and on the people of my curse for judgment. You catch, this is a judgment passage on a particular people. His people that are dwelling in Edom. So, again, Israel, and I'll throw you another one. You can look it up on your own. Read the 22nd chapter of Jeremiah. You want to see very similar verbiage about pending judgment. You're going to get heavens, you're going to get earth. So I'll say this to cap that off. If God, in all these passages, is destroying the heavens and the earth, then, the literal heavens above us and the earth below us, then there are dozens of moments where God is going to destroy the heavens and the earth, and they're all in different contexts and different capacities. The similar thing in those judgments, I believe, is that he's talking to Israel. And if he's not, then he's talking about destroying the literal heavens and the earth over and over and over again. And I think it doesn't take long to realize that there must be another interpretation. Well, good news. There is another interpretation, and I'm certainly not the only one to see it. In fact, the writer of the book of Hebrews saw it. I'm going to use his template to teach us a very important lesson about Bible prophecy. Go to Hebrews chapter 12. We've dealt with this passage a little bit in our study, but I want to show you how the writer of Hebrews deals with the Old Testament, particularly the book of Haggai. The author of Hebrews literally quotes Haggai chapter 2, verse 6. And he does it in verse 26 of Hebrews chapter 12. And then he adds his interpretation. Listen to this. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 26 through 28. He has promised, saying, now here comes the Haggai quote, yet once more I shake not only the earth, but also heaven, end quote. Now this, quote, yet once more, end quote, indicates the removal of those things that are being shaken as of things that are made, that the things which cannot be shaken may remain. So the author of Hebrews is telling you what he thinks Haggai means. Now he's going to tell you when he thinks Haggai means it. Verse 28, therefore, Since we are receiving a kingdom which cannot be shaken, let us have grace by which we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. Did you notice that the author of Hebrews places the Haggai 2:6 prophecy of God shaking the heavens and the earth? He places that in his timeline and says, we're receiving a kingdom that's not going to end. This is the same kingdom that Daniel says has been given over to the Son of Man, who stood before the Ancient of Days, a kingdom that would not end. The author of Hebrews says we're receiving that kingdom, and the reception of that kingdom means the passing away of old things. Let's go back to Isaiah 65. This is a powerful one. Isaiah chapter 65. We're right near the end of that great prophetic book, and there's a good wrap-up that the author does. I'm going to use several verses here. Isaiah 65:1. I was sought by those who did not ask for me. I was found by those who did not seek me. I said, here I am, to a nation that was not called by my name. Ladies and gentlemen, there in that verse are you and me. You and I are in Isaiah 65:1. We are those who were not called by his name, but yet called out to him. This is a scripture about the Gentiles. Now then, God makes a promise. Verse 9, I will bring forth descendants from Jacob, and from Judah, an heir of my mountains. My elect shall inherit it, my servants shall dwell there. They fled from Jerusalem into the mountains of Judea, just as Jesus told them to do. This is prophesied in Isaiah 65, so there was an elect in Israel. Revelation would call them 144,000. Verses 13 and 14, therefore thus says the Lord God, behold, my servant shall eat, but you shall be hungry. My servant shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. My servant shall rejoice, but you shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart, and wait for grief of spirit. You shall leave your name as a curse to my chosen, for the Lord God will slay you and call his servants by another name. He's actually changing people in Isaiah 65. He's not going to have the same people he had. Incredible. 16, so that he who blesses himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth, and he who swears in the earth shall swear by the God of truth, because the former troubles are forgotten, because they are hidden from my eyes. For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered or come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem as a rejoicing, and her people a joy. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. The voice of weeping shall no longer be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. Where do we get this fulfillment? Revelation chapter 21. What a great seal. Revelation chapter 21 is going to seal this thing off. Verse 5. Then he who sat on the throne said, behold, I make all things new. The old had passed away. Hebrews 8 said it was going to happen. Hebrews 12 said the stuff that has to shake is shaking so we can receive a kingdom that will not end. Isaiah prophesied that it would happen. A people who did not know his name would find him. That's us. And that he would bring a people out of Jerusalem. He did. And that he would then create a new Jerusalem. He did. Revelation describes that new Jerusalem as a place where those sinners outside can't enter in. That's not on a futuristic city on a futuristic planet. If so, then your futuristic planet, some utopia, has sinners running around outside the New Jerusalem. It's language indicating that God has created a new system. In fact, Revelation literally says in verse 5 of chapter 21, I make all things new. We are not dealing anymore with that old covenant and that old system. The heavens and the earth have passed away. In the context of those in Israel, when Peter says the elements will burn with fire, he's using the same word that Paul uses when he talks about the elementary principles of the world. And so what Peter is telling us is that the day is very soon coming, and it was in his future, in which the elements were going to burn by fire and judgment was going to begin at the house of God. And that house of God to a Jew was the temple, and God's judgment fell right there and spread, and the elements burned away. This is finished work. You and I are in what Paul called the ages to come, in which we are learning the glorious riches of God's grace. Let's rest in it today. Let's enjoy it today. Let's thank God for it. I'll see you next week. God bless.